Welcome back. This is the Adorecream Sign of the Times series, and this is our fifth and last video, and this will be a short one. I guarantee it will not be a short one that lasts 19 minutes. This is our final video. Already we talked about origins, we talked about how the music was made, the reaction and publicity, and then my own personal review of the songs and the tracks. And now today we're going to talk about reaction through time. And basically I'm going to borrow upon a few sources to talk about this. First of all, I'm going to talk about critical reactions. And then second of all, I'm going to talk about fan reactions. And for critical reactions, we're going to talk about for time. Now this book here, 1990's Prince, a documentary, has a lot of excerpts from original reviews back in 1987. Now by this stage, the album Sign of the Times had a full release. And pretty much what that meant was that most of the music papers of the time and also the music magazines and all the critics had a chance to listen to Sign of the Times. And the general consensus of the critics was divided. Basically, the ones in Britain and Europe were very, very positive about Sign of the Times. Like here, this book here, 1998, Slave to the Rhythm, has a review section of every single album up to that date. And basically what she does is she reviews one by Melody Maker's Ted Miko. And basically he talks about how the music tries to recreate Eden, and Prince is searching for his Valhalla and how he can bring back all these different styles. And at the end, after talking about 3 or 4 pages about how great the album is, the final thing he says about it was, "I always wondered what God did after his tea break on the 8th day. Truly this man is a genius." This is the type of positive stuff you get out of Britain and Europe. Basically the British thought and the Europeans thought that this album was just the greatest thing ever made since sliced bread. Another one talks about, Prince is much a consummate musical magpie, as an intimidable innovator in this record strikes a gorgeous balance without waltzing off into the ill-advised sound fantasies that cluttered his last 2 albums. So even the overdone sonic bits of Around the World in the Day and Parade were forgiven with the geniusness of Sign of the Times. And I'm sorry I'm reading from the book here, but I can't memorize 10 or 20 reviews and then speak them to you. But basically, when you're getting the feeling like, here's another one. As with any artist of his caliber, success rests not only on the music, but on the way in which that music is presented, the way in which it takes chances to further cement his self-made image as a unique individual answerable to no one. For any other artist to put together an LP which contains demos that would mean an end of a career, Prince only enhances a career he has so thoroughly, brilliantly stage managed. So that's the type of thing. But it also says here too that over in the USA, where his star was rapidly declining, they were less positive. Newsweek Bill's Barrel felt the album lacked the extravagant egocentricity that occasionally marred Prince albums, while Lenny Stout Rock Express said that Prince had managed to strike an arresting balance between breathtaking innovation, luminescent musicianship, and large-scale theft. So there you are, there's the part. Kurt Loder and Rolling Stone called the album dazzling, but felt Prince could do better, giving it only 3.5 stars out of 5, which really is kind of like a B-. So they were a bit cruel. Dennis Hunt of the Los Angeles Times said, like most of Prince albums, it's murky, dark, sexy, and Prince is too savage to rehash material, and the work is more soulful, sinister, and definitely more obtuse than 1999. Rather than simple dance music with throwaways, it's oblique, absorbing funk rock. So they're looking at the complexities of the music rather than its crowd-pleasing tendencies. So typical Americans, they pour scorn on it. And then what happens is, once we move out of the 80s, a lot of the critics, like I think there's a group called The Village Voice who named it as their album of the year, and another group called the Paz and Jop Records, which is a play on words, a spoonerism of jazz and pop, voted it #1 album of the year. So it was lovingly received by critics. But then as we move into the 90s, its image starts to tarnish. This is another old book I've had for years, and you can just tell by the hideous style artwork that this is definitely early to mid-90s. It's actually 1994. It was written when grunge was the biggest thing, and generally the 1990s was a move away from proper pop music into nameless dance ensembles with names like, KLF and 808 State and Happy Mondays and all this drug and trance dance music, which did very little for me. Prince kind of tried it a bit with the Jam Loose, I guess, but and even at this stage, the Royal Court, the very best of Prince, it's always rock and roll. Let's look what song comes in at #1. Can you see it? #1, Adore. And as you can see on this list, quite a lot of these songs like Starfish and Coffee are clearly off Sign of the Times. So even here, 7 years out, this is around the same time I discovered Prince. And of course, this is my 1990s writing. I added a few more to it myself, but that's just me though. And see, even on the bootlegs and B-sides, nothing from the Sign of the Times era makes the list. But then again, this is basically long after You know, this is actually long after before most of the bootlegs came out. But this is quite interesting because at this time grunge was ruling everywhere. And I really don't like grunge. It's depressing, horrible, morose music. You can give me all you want about it. I don't like it, basically. By this stage, the late 90s, early 2000s, people are becoming less complimentary towards Sign of the Times. They're saying it's dated, it's 80s. You know, around 2000, anything from the 80s was considered dated and terrible. They were going through their 70s revival. And I don't have too many more sources about it, but basically as we move into the 2000s, you find Sign of the Times is dropping further and further down, you know, the 100 greatest albums lists and 50 greatest albums, all that stuff. And what people are finding is at this stage too, by the mid-2000s, what they're really rediscovering rather than Sign of the Times is Purple Rain. And by the mid-2000s, this is 2004, people are preferring Purple Rain over Sign of the Times. And even now, most lists of favourite Prince albums usually have Sign of the Times below Purple Rain for the general fans. And today, generally, Sign of the Times isn't even on some of the greatest album lists anymore. It's quite sad. And then, so that's the critical reaction. The critical reaction has gone down, although I will have to say, just from a few magazines I have in the other room after he died, they are pretty much of the opinion that since his death, people are starting to look at Sign of the Times in a much better and more positive light. And it's always ranked up there with Purple Rain, 1999, Parade, Dirty Mind, and to a lesser extent, The Gold Experience. Now, fans are a different kettle of fish altogether. Pretty much, back in 1987, fans loved it. And today fans still love it. Being on Prince Org a lot, pretty much there's always a lot of these, what are your favourite 10 Prince albums, Reds, and what's your best Prince album of all time? And then several album surveys I've done over the years, I've actually kept results of them, and generally, out of ranking all the albums, Sign of the Times always comes out on top. Probably fully 2/3 of the Prince Org fans, now Prince Org, you know, it's for hardcore Prince fans pretty much, rank Sign of the Times as their favourite Prince album. And if it's not their favourite, it's always in the top 3. Usually the only other albums that approach it are definitely Purple Rain. Purple Rain, it is a good album, come on, let's face it. Can't wait till I review that one. And, of course, Parade. And as you know, Parade is the predecessor. Parade kind of fed Sign of the Times. And then behind that, 1999 is usually there. Maybe one or two fans, you always get the real maverick, crazy ones will say they don't like Sign of the Times, but you don't know if they're actually just being mean or they just want to disrupt the flow, or if they actually mean it. But seriously, when you got songs like Adore, Sign of the Times, Housequake, Play in the Sunshine, I Could Never Take the Place of Your Man, If I Was Your Girlfriend, Strange Relationship, there's very few people who can have a dry eye and say, I don't like those songs. They like at least one of them. And I think one thing that might put people off about Sign of the Times is the fact that it's too long, and maybe some conventional pop fans who just like 3-minute pop songs would say, oh, it's too experimental. And even Prince said that when he was referring to Reaction. He said, people say there's good things on it and things that are experiments, and Prince actually said, I don't like that word experiment because it means something is unfinished. And that's, I think, how Prince felt about Sign of the Times. And then finally, so we talked about fans. So basically, it's always been there with fans. Fans love the album. I challenge any fan to jump on here and say they completely hate Sign of the Times. At the very least, it's a top 5 album. And at the very most, probably I'd be comfortable in saying a full 50% to 2/3 of all serious Prince fans. Not people who say, oh, I've heard Purple Rain, and does he have that other song about kissing? You know, they actually love Sign of the Times. They know it, they love it. Even people who get into Prince later, like I did, and even much later, like people who got into Prince, like say during 3121 or something, once they hear Sign of the Times, they realise that's pretty much one of the very best albums Prince ever made. And they know it's genius. People know good albums when they hear them, pretty much. So, yeah, and finally, Prince's own reaction. I think Prince liked Sign of the Times. I believed in it for a while, but he was always going to be secretly angry and disappointed because Warner's did make him cut his vision. Like we said back in videos 1 and 2, you know, songs like Crucial, Empty Room, Dream Factory, Crystal Ball, they were not on the Sign of the Times album. Okay, I know they came out later with Crystal Ball, but that was 1998. But Prince was always annoyed. He had this 3-album vision, you know, the Crystal Ball, the Dream Factory, and basically he couldn't let it fly. Sign of the Times really, as great as the album was to Prince, that album was always going to be a compromise for him. And now, here we are. That is the end. We've now finished with Sign of the Times, and I'll just quickly say what happened after Sign of the Times. As you know, Prince went back into the studio not long after the tour finished. He finished mixing the movie, and starting in August, September through to December 87, Prince basically went in and mixed the Black Album because he was getting tired of the fans saying, oh, your music's not black enough. You know, you've gone too pop. Obviously the ears must have been full of wax when Sign of the Times came out, because I think Sign of the Times was easily Prince's blackest album since Prince, pretty much. I mean, even Dirty Mind, even though it's full of sex, I mean, it's very much a rock album more than an R&B album. Whereas Controversy has some R&B touches, but Controversy is definitely heading more towards pop. And as you know, pop dominates everything from 1999 through to Parade, pretty much. And yeah, so I actually think it was his blackest selling album, but he went out and made the Black Album. As you know, he took some of the Camille tricks, he recorded a couple of new things like Le Grind and Cindy C, and a very weird song called Two Nigs United for West Compton. But, I mean, apart from Le Grind, it's not really that much I like in the album. Le Grind is an outstanding song. I mean, you could have almost put it on Sign of the Times. And then, of course, as you know, Prince decided the music was too dark. He got rid of it. He invented this spooky electric guy who harassed Camille. I mean, I'm starting to think Prince might have tried drugs more than once during this era, because he made up this whole story about good versus evil, Camille versus spooky electric. And then what he did was he moved into writing Lovesexy. And the first song he wrote for Lovesexy was The Line, which is incredible. It's on the bootlegs. And he didn't use that. Now, just as a legs, I'm going to move into a completely different topic the next video. But next year I will be doing a series of videos about Lovesexy, and I'm going to do the same thing for Lovesexy I did here with Sign of the Times. It's going to be my trilogy. I'm not going to do the Black Album because, to be honest with you, there's not really that much known about it. I don't really like it very much. I mean, I kind of like it. I mean, I gave it a B, you know, but it's not really in the league of everything from Dirty Mind through to Lovesexy. But I'm going to do Lovesexy, and I'm going to do the hell out of Lovesexy because I love that album too. And to me, I mean, even though it came after Sign of the Times technically, you know, because I don't really count the Black Album as a bridge, I mean, it's completely different to Sign of the Times. It's one style, it's very spiritual, it's very positive, it's very light. But yeah, so there you are. Thank you for watching my Sign of the Times video, and next video will be a very solemn night because today is April 14th, Good Friday. I've pushed my partner out of the room so I can shoot this video, and by the time I shoot again, it'll be April the 21st. Okay, so thank you for watching my videos. Thank you for enjoying Sign of the Times. I mean, as much as I enjoyed talking about Sign of the Times, I think it's wonderful. Just quick shout outs to all the usual people. You know, one person I will shout out and straight away is Nightchild Ethereal Jay, who's now done his second Prince Odyssey video about famous Prince album Prince. Second album. I think it's a wonderful album, and I think he's done a wonderful job talking about it. He's actually made me laugh quite a lot with it, you know, talking about Sexy Dancer and I Feel For You, which really are just genius songs. And also, again, everyone on the Prince Sword, people who do that favourite album survey, you know, because they do kind of give you a good snapshot of what people like. And just quickly, Jay also, if you check out his channel, about a year and a half ago, he did a survey on Prince fans, and he actually got around about 1,000 responses for it. And again, they pretty much said the same thing. Their favourite album was Sign of the Times, and again, second place was Purple Rain. So there again, you know, more validation, and that was only last year. But that survey was done just before Prince died. Prince was still alive. He was touring, you know, the tour I went to see, Piano and Microphone, and he was promoting Hit and Run Phase 2, and I think he was in the studio writing Hit and Run Phase 3. Really like to see that come out soon. So there you are. I mean, watch his videos. Another guy I've started watching who I think is really good is a guy called Prince's Friend, who's an African-American guy over in the States. His videos are really cool as well. I think you should watch him too. He's done a Sign of the Times video, which I really like. Another one I've discovered too is, I'm trying to remember the name, but that's This Week in Prince. They're really good, really funny. Two British people. Casey Rain he's really like the most hardcore Prince fan I've ever heard in my life, pretty much outside of the USA. And yeah, and Peach Black, you know, they did a wonderful series on Apollonia 6 and the Vanity 6 albums, which were amusing because both of them are very musically slight, but they've actually dealt with it really well. So there you are. I just want to give love to all the people who actually have talent in recording facilities, not a room full of decaying accountants' materials in the background. So there you are. May you all live to see the dawn, and have a happy Easter and Good Friday.